Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special episode of That Pretentious Book Club.
Hi!
I feel like there should be fanfare after that every time. That over there is your host, who, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, this is going to be a little weird. And if you guys are like, wow, why are the hosts not like kicking off of each other's cues as much as usual? It'd be because some of us are on camera for this episode and Spoons is not. So that over there, if you're watching on YouTube, the one that says Kendall Shaw is in fact Kendall Shaw.
Hello!
AKA Dr. Spoons Palermo.
Hi, howdy. Yeah, my camera is wigging out for some reason. I don't know why.
So it was rave party time over there for her. So
it really was. And over there, who you can see is Ash O'Rourke, but you can call her Wheezy.
It ain't easy being Wheezy, and I'm a little wheezy again today. And that over there in the third pane, if you guys are watching the video, but if not, that third voice you're hearing is my sister, our podcast designer, Maddie Hull. I forgot your married name. I haven't had to introduce you by that, I don't think, ever.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's Pod's sister over there, the mother of Pod niece. So yeah, it's good. You guys have heard us talk about her a lot. She does all of our like pretty graphics and design work. If you guys have looked at any of our merch, all of that fun, beautiful stuff is from her. So is our logo. She's
I've
very
really been slacking on that lately. I need to get back to that.
Oh, to just design.
I haven't gotten on anything new lately.
Yeah, you're really slacking on the job that I didn't pay you to do. I like it.
I like to do it.
I'm so glad. Well, we're glad that you're with us today. She's with us because this is actually the book that she picked. Apparently, to my immense shock, this is her favorite book. I didn't know that. We don't talk about books a lot, my sister and I, weirdly.
Well, I also, until recently, I haven't gotten back into reading. Like, I just haven't had time. Like, I work full-time from home, and I'm a mom. Crazy life happening all the time. So I just don't have time. But now I'm making more time.
That makes sense. Yeah, sorry guys if I'm wheezy.
You're here. And I'm so happy you recommended this book. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I know, I can't wait because I know Ash has a lot of strong opinions on it. But so do I. So.
I do have strong opinions on
it. That's the best part about this podcast is that I'm always like, I know Ash has strong opinions on this.
Listen, I'm an Aries, okay? It comes with the territory.
Also, if Ash mentions any childhood stories, I can correct her this time.
I heard you. I heard you shit talking me when I was in the bathroom when y'all were playing D&D. I heard you say that I make stuff up or that I like rewrite stuff. No, you do that, and you've done that since childhood. So absolutely not. I'm here to set the record straight. Everything I tell you guys is definitely a real fact that happened. I don't make stuff up about my childhood.
No,
but
you
Maddie,
just blocked out the trauma. You blocked out the trauma.
I didn't block out the trauma.
You didn't understand. You weren't fully there for a lot.
That's not. I may have blocked out the trauma, but the memories I have are still valid. Well, this is an ongoing argument.
I'm staying out of it. I have I can't say either way. So
even though you're my waifu, so I would expect some level of faithfulness as a spouse.
Well, listen, you are absolutely my waifu, but it has happened before that I'll be like, remember this? And you're like, absolutely not. And it's something I thought was formative for our childhoods. So I don't really know,
Exactly. I haven't done any of that with you, have I,
Kendall? No, you remember stuff way better.
I've been around almost as long as Ash.
No, listen, just because you know what? Just because she remembers more things does not mean that what she remembers is more accurate than what I remember. This is where the difference is.
Okay, we're getting into it today on the pod at 4 minutes in.
4 minutes in, y'all are gonna hear the biggest battle between us as sisters.
Yeah, this is probably the only thing we ever actually really disagree on too.
Yeah, it legitimately is. It's nice to be grown up. I used to yell at you for putting your stuff on my side of the room, so.
Yeah, and a lot of other people too.
Oh, wow. That's rude. I was not that mean.
It's okay.
When I was mean, you didn't know it was me. That was when I made Caleb be mean, and it was my idea. Like when I told him to put a snake in your hair. You didn't know it was me.
Whoa, that is pretty evil, Ash.
I'm just saying. So I was not a mean older sister, at least not that Maddie was aware of.
Not directly. No, but I found out pretty quick. I knew Caleb wasn't smart enough.
It's too
Just
funny.
kidding, Caleb. You did plenty of your own antics.
Now, officially, all my siblings have been on the pod because Caleb joined us for, was it Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit?
Hobbit, I think. Or maybe it was Fellowship. I can't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, Fellowship of the Ring or The Hobbit. One of the two. We had a guest on there. That was my older brother, Caleb. This is my younger sister, Maddie. I am a middle child, if you guys can't tell from the everything about me. So
Classic girl child.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we need your siblings on now, Kendall.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Ben keeps saying that he wants to come on, but only if we do like Goosebumps. Although he has read so many books, you know, he reads a lot. But yeah, it's funny.
Your family is very literate. I feel like anyone in your family.
Yeah, I'll get him on too. Yeah.
Sam needs to come out of the shadows.
Oh my god, my cats are fighting like 2 feet away from this laptop. Stop it, gosh. You cats. See, y'all can't
you cats.
Y'all can't see it today, but it's crazy over here.
But I believe you. Happy and juicy. Oh, my nieces. I love them.
Yeah, they're being monsters, but
I love that for them.
Oh god. Well, oh yeah, we forgot to say, if you don't want to hear any more nonsense, go ahead and skip it. Go to the bio or the description.
Yeah, and use the skip notes, and they're there. Wow, you go, Dr. Spoons. You 6 minutes in, you remembered that. I wouldn't have remembered till I was like, and moving into the actual episode.
And now it's too late to skip. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, we could get into our semi-normal semi-consistent part of the episode where I go, how was your week? And you go, how was your week? And then we ask Maddie because she's here. So we should get into that now, and we'll see how long that goes on.
Let's do that then.
Yeah. Guests first. Maddie, how's your week been?
My week was good. I've got to work a conference this weekend. So it's been hectic preparing for that for work. I'm a marketing specialist. Mm-hmm. And so to go represent my company. And besides that, I got a doctor for the first time, and it took me seriously, like over a virtual call too. That's like so nice. I've had chronic health issues for my whole life. Mm-hmm. And to finally have a doctor that was like, yeah, I can just see over the camera that your thyroid's enlarged. I'm going to send you in for an ultrasound. Oh, you have low blood pressure? That's not normal. Yeah. Let's go get you tested. Let's go get you in with a cardiologist.
That's so nice.
It was really nice. And it was not at all what I was expecting. So
that's great.
And also being almost 20 weeks pregnant, I'm finally at the point where I cannot wear non-maternity clothes or athletic clothes anymore. And I was able to get some really great maternity clothes from Ross today.
All right.
It's been a win these weeks.
Yeah, way to go.
I think it is the only Ross or TJ Maxx in the area that has any maternity clothes. I've looked at every single other one.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just thinking when you were talking about doctors taking you seriously, I was thinking, I mean, I see a little bit why they might think that you're making stuff up occasionally, because you are the only person I know who has had the sheer luck of the draw to not once but twice get Lyme disease. Legitimately. I can see why a doctor would be like, no way. It's still wrong because they should take every patient seriously 100%. But I'm just saying, if you're going to go take someone gambling with you in Vegas, maybe take Maddie, because the odds are, well, not exactly in her favor, but they're extreme for her.
Yeah. Well, and I've got a vascular disease that I've had since I was 12 that is my vascular surgeon had never seen anyone as young as me.
Yeah.
Such old lady veins.
Wow. Yeah, honestly, non-luck of the draw. I don't know what that what that would be.
Bad luck.
I don't know.
Bad luck of the
bad
draw.
luck of the draw? Yeah.
Gambling is so random. So do you take her with you to Vegas, or do you say stay as far away from me as possible when I'm gambling? Like, I don't know.
Like, what?
I don't know.
I wonder.
My in-laws took me gambling. It's the only time that I've ever like actually participated in anything at a casino, and I did not do well. So,
Noted. All right.
All right. So
I wouldn't take me. I think it's bad luck of the draw. I would not. I think I'm a bad luck charm.
So maybe what you're saying is like, okay, if you're going to Vegas, you guys better hope that Maddie is like as far away geographically as possible, you know?
100%, yeah.
Exactly. Plan it for like when I've got like a conference in Florida or like the East Coast.
Because if you happen to be gambling in Vegas and Maddie's there on a conference, you are inevitably not going to do so hot. So if you're just doing bad, just, maybe give us a shout and be like, hey, is your sister in Vegas by any chance? And I'll probably be like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had and that's just scraping the surface of the odd coincidences of tick-borne illnesses. Like in the US, I have like all but like 2.
Oh God, it's just, it's not funny, but it is so funny. Like the coincidence.
I don't mean
if
to
I
laugh
don't laugh at it, I
disease.
get depressed.
Oh, no.
I know it's okay. We've made an entire joke about my severe asthma, so I feel like
yeah,
that's what we're all here for.
At least I don't have asthma.
At least I'm not that lame.
I think my daughter does though.
Oh, so gravy.
She's very
That's okay. I will teach her to embrace the wheeziness. There's a power. And I literally was using my inhaler with my spacer like 20 minutes ago. I will just teach her all the ways.
Oh my God.
That's too funny.
At least she's got support.
Yeah, she definitely does. So anything else interesting or horrible happened this week?
I don't think so. It was Grayson's second week at daycare or at preschool.
Yes.
So, but she's doing good. I don't want to be that mom, but I absolutely am. She is so advanced.
Yeah.
Like, she is by far like smartest kid there. Like the other kids are cute, don't get me wrong, but like Grayson's just really smart.
I will say at church nursery, she was the only kid who was like trying to like talk and stuff. And she's definitely not the oldest kid in there either.
She talks too much.
She talks a lot.
She's going to be the next guest on the podcast at this point. If she keeps progressing as rapidly as she has.
It'll be half just screaming because she's really into just screaming. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
It's excellent.
Bring her on,
She's great with adults because adults think it's cute, but the other kids, when she's on a playground and wants to make friends, she just screams at them and they have no idea what to do. They're terrified.
Oh, she does. Because she walks up to Ruby, the puppy, and she just screams in delight. And Ruby's like, I don't understand. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's really funny.
Oh, love her.
She takes after her aunt in a lot of ways.
I do encourage that. I am loud.
Screams.
Have a lot of important things to say. Okay. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's the main character syndrome. It is
100%. I do think Grayson currently has main character energy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a rude awakening.
I don't know. I haven't yet, so.
That is true, actually.
You're like, no, I know a grown woman who's fully functioning in this delusion.
Oh God.
Hey, at least you call it what it is.
Yeah. You know exactly what's going on.
I know how to speak in a socially acceptable way about my belief system about myself.
Oh God.
Well, Kendall, how was your week?
Oh yeah. My week's been pretty good. Just
pretty
vibing,
good.
man.
You sounded a little bit like your D&D character.
Yeah, he keeps rubbing off on
pretty
me.
Good.
Pretty good.
That is like the highlight of my week right now.
Me too. I was just about to say, like, I'm trying to think of like what's report on, and then I was like, oh, I guess D&D.
And then a little bit wild.
Y'all were there for us. Yeah, we did have a wild time this week.
Yeah, Maddie, it really was.
Y'all, Maddie's character is like such.
She's so OP.
Yeah, she is. She has like every power. She can do anything. She like pretty much. Well, there was one other character. They double-handedly
Carissa,
infiltrated
she's
a
been on our
castle.
episodes too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Carissa.
Yeah.
Why am I
The
like
co-host of our sister podcast, the Scripturient Society. Yeah.
yeah,
She
y'all
plays a gnome rogue, I believe, named Twitch. And Maddie
yes.
plays a elf named Fern.
Yeah, I don't know why I was saying it like that. Y'all know who Carissa is. But so somebody else who I won't name. Anyway, yeah, they like infiltrated a castle, rescued a princess. It was crazy. We were all like, "Oh my god, this
They were
is
supposed to go in for
wild."
some light recon.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Ah, we just did it." It was awesome.
It was awesome, except that it was also the wrong princess. And also because Fern was so OP'd when she leveled up, I hadn't like fully prepped. I was like going to make them fight some guards and stuff. And I had like a maze set up for them. And they just like basically bypassed it because she had like this like magical spell that basically made none of it apply. It was infuriating.
It was
Well, it's
great.
one that like they use constantly in like Critical Role. If anybody knows what that is,
Oh yeah.
basically makes you like completely like undetectable. Like, you
Another
get, like,
top
plus
tier
10
podcast out
health.
there. Almost as good as us.
Yeah.
Almost as professional as we are.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
It's
they're
not like they have
learning, they're
TV shows
growing.
out or anything like that either. So
Oh
Oh god.
gosh.
Yeah, I guess I'm, whatever. I read this book. I enjoyed it. Ash, what did you do this week?
Good Lord. Well, I got a new bed for my dog, which I just sent a picture to both of y'all. Ruby ate the stuffing out of her other bed. And it was a bed that was a little too small and it had like a rim around the edge. So she'd all be like, cozy in it when she was little. She basically never used it ever. The cats used it a few times. And then Ruby recently decided it was a toy and destroyed it. And I was like, well, maybe she's just telling me that it's not the right kind of bed because she likes to like splay out now that she's big. So she doesn't even sleep on the bed with me anymore. She'll like nap up there during the day maybe, but she mostly sleeps on the ground, on the hardwood floor. And so I was like, poor baby, like she doesn't need to like lay on the hard floor all the time. So I got her like a dog mat instead of a bed. And she is currently right beside me, laying on the hardwood floor beside the new bed. So that happened. I don't feel like a bad dog mom anymore. I just feel like an annoyed dog mom. Like, why did I waste the money on this dog bed?
Yeah.
Killing me. But
Brownie anxiety peed on
that
her new
kills
dog
me.
bed.
Oh,
Literally within a minute of us putting it down. She
no.
got anxious and peed on
Brownie.
it.
You guys all remember Brownie.
That
She's
dog
our
Her
is
dog.
anxiety is severe. Brownie is Maddie's dog now, and Grayson and Brownie are the best of friends, which makes me so happy.
They are.
Yeah, in case
They're
you're
so
wondering if
cute.
Brownie's anxiety is any better, it's not, but it is treatable with medication.
Giving her trazodone.
Yeah, she has a rough time.
Red.
Poor baby.
Poor thing.
That's so funny. I'm trying to think of anything else happened. I made, and I don't care if this sounds like boring, but I made a bomb ass vegetable pie for dinner. And I definitely it's never a recipe I would like come across and be like, ooh, vegetables, pie, two of my favorite things, because neither one is in that category. But so the original recipe is like, it's just like tomatoes and eggplant. It was like a summer tomato pie thing, and I thought it looked refreshing, so I made it once. But I used what I had, which was I used tomatoes, summer squash, an eggplant. This time I made it again, and I added some bell peppers because I needed to use them. And you guys, it is just so good. I made it last time and thought maybe it was a fluke. It's not going to be as good this time. No, it's freaking amazing. You like layer the tomatoes and like the summer squash around the bottom and like around the sides, like it's a crust. And then you peel and you boil the eggplant and mash it up. And then you mix it with sauteed onions, garlic, and I did bell peppers this time. You mix in Parmesan, breadcrumbs. This is me giving you the full recipe because it's actually not that hard at all. And then I used 2 eggs this time for protein. Mix that all up, put it in the thing, put it in like the weird veggie crust I made. And then I put some more tomatoes and summer squash slices on top. And then I covered it in mozzarella and I baked it. And it's so freaking good. I don't know why. It's not even a crazy amount of cheese either, but it tastes like it has a lot of cheese in it. It is so good. I didn't even use a bunch of seasonings. I used like salt, pepper, a little bit of cayenne, and some paprika, which for me is nothing. I'm usually like 20 seasonings in. So it was, God, it's so good.
Is there any left?
Yes.
Please send some with mom when she picks up Grayson tomorrow.
I can do that. Yeah, I can definitely send some with you. But it's
That
not all
sounds good.
eaten. And it's also one of the only like all veggie dishes that I made that Javi had seconds of. He was like, it's okay. But then he had
That's
seconds. And I was
impressive.
like,
Got
I
him.
saw that. Yeah, 100% got him. I don't know what it is about the dish. It is extremely satisfying. So I know that was a long, detailed rant about the dinner that I made. I'm just so
love
proud of
that.
it.
I'm
No.
proud of you too. Yeah. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. You're welcome. And I guess in other news, I've been so tired today. Does this happen to you where when you yawn, your eyes water?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's someone told me once that doesn't happen to them, and I was like, "You're an alien. That's not possible." So
You're lying.
you're lying. It's a lie. So I've been yawning all day long so consistently that for a good portion of the day, I've literally just had tears streaming down my face
No.
because there's been no point to wipe them away because I yawn a second later and cry again.
Oh my
Like that's the
God.
level of tired I've been because Ruby wakes me up at 6 o'clock and I've been so tired. I was like going to sleep at like 8 p.m. and like I know that makes me ancient, but it was also just amazing. I did it for like 2 weeks straight. So now my brain is like 8 p.m. It's bedtime. So it's 8:08 now. My body is like, why are you not in bed? Excuse me. But I stayed up until 10 last night and the night before, which felt like 2 a.m. for me now to get ghostwriting work done, which thank God I'm almost done with. And then I still woke up at 6 because of Ruby getting me up at 6. And I do like 2 hours of chores before work starts every day. So anyways, I'm very tired. That was really just me complaining, but it is a lot. It feels like a lot. I know everyone's like, wow, going to bed at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. That's so early. And for me, that's, that's become my late. And I don't want any judgment.
Are always in bed by 9:30.
That sounds awesome. And that used to be me last year. I'm becoming more extreme, but I get up at 6 a.m. every morning. And the first thing I do is hard labor for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So like,
yeah, I go to bed early too. But I love that you said, yeah, I'm getting more extreme.
I'm getting more extreme.
But the word extreme is so funny to me as like a way to describe normal behavior. Like, yeah, I went to bed at 10:30. I'm pretty extreme.
Pretty extreme. Well, I'm becoming like, what's the opposite of extreme? Like the word. Because I went from like I went from going to bed at like 9:30 on like average last year to like now I go to bed at like literally 8 p.m. on the dot, like asleep by like 8:15, which is awesome. So then staying
moderate, you're getting more moderate.
I'm becoming more I'm aggressively moderate. Like there's gonna be like
or maybe you're just getting more boring.
Yeah. No, I mean that's absolutely true, but it's like boring isn't a strong enough word for the extreme level of moderation that I've gone to. Anyways, if anyone out there is also like a basically 26-year-old woman who goes to bed at 8 p.m. Please reach out. I feel very alone.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more of you. Y'all have to find each other and
just give me another month of pregnancy and I'll be right there with you.
Yeah. Oh, and also, I guess, I mean, this is my last little thing. It's not really like for this week, but my golden birthday is coming up and I'm excited. Even though I have like literally zero plans, and for the first time ever, I've been like, "Hey, brother," because his birthday's also this month. Do you want to have like a joint like birthday thing, and we can go get like steak together? And he was like, "Sure." The first time I've ever volunteered for that, because usually when the parents like squished our birthdays together, I was furious about it. So, but now I'm kind of like, I just want to get good food, and I don't really care what else we do. So,
yeah,
so I'm pretty jazzed about that. And I want you to come too, Spoons. I think we're going to go after church. So
I would love to come.
Possibly to a Brazilian steakhouse.
Yes. Oh my God. If you guys have never been to a Brazilian steakhouse, I know it's expensive, but God, is it so worth it? Like I feel like every 7 years I go to a Brazilian steakhouse.
I haven't been in probably like, actually, you know what? I guess I did go a few years. It's only been like 2 years.
Yeah, it's actually probably been, this is the most recent it's been for me ever that I'm going to go again. Because I went like 2 years ago for a friend's birthday and it was wonderful. And then I can't believe that I'm about to go again because I never get to go that close together. So I'm very excited. Spoons, have you ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse?
I don't know that I have. I've been sitting here thinking about it and I think I have not.
We're going to blow your mind, widen your worldview, and make you fall in love with a whole new type of food. It is so freaking good. They just walk by with meat on skewers and they put it on your plate. God, and you don't even have to say, yes, more please. You literally you have a little card on your table. One side's green, one side's red. When you turn it to green, they just keep bringing you meat. And then when you don't want it anymore, you turn it to red and you can turn it back and forth. And there's like a salad veggie bar that's amazing. And they have this cheese bread that's called pão de queijo. And it is my favorite like bread substance in the world.
This sounds incredible.
And you can now get it.
It is.
In the store, you can get like the pão de queijo. You can get them, but like they're called Brazil bites or something.
Yeah.
And
they're not
as good.
They're not as good, but they're still very good.
They're still very
but
good,
it's nothing compared to when you go to a Brazilian steakhouse. So I'm just extremely excited about that. And I probably am thinking about it like about once an hour. And it's not until the end of the month. I'm just like
once an hour.
We don't have to wait.
Or we can do it twice because there's two of you.
Hey, that's true. It's
So
very
crazy.
expensive, you guys. It's expensive, so it's better to wait. But I am just
we could just do a girls' night, just us. For one, and then once for you guys' birthday.
Yeah, it is my golden birthday, so it would make it extra special.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
We're practicing, you know?
Yeah. So that we know what to expect and we know what our limits are, so that we can like really embrace it. I feel like this is not a bad idea at all, actually, for science.
Yeah, this actually makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. What are you guys doing this weekend? Actually, I think y'all are both busy.
I'm very busy.
Yeah. Busy,
I gotta drive to Dallas tomorrow.
Dallas.
Yeah. Good old Dallas. Anyway, so that's been my week, which is not entirely my week, but I can't stop thinking about the Brazilian steakhouse.
Now I can't.
That's all I'm going to be thinking about now. Thanks.
You're welcome. I hope I made everybody's mouth water. I hope you added that to your bucket list.
I haven't told Dom that's what you want to do, but he's going to be ecstatic.
Is he? You know
Absolutely.
what? If you guys have any male family member or friend, you're like, I don't know what to do to celebrate for them. I've never in my life met a man who wasn't over the freaking moon about going to a Brazilian steakhouse. It's like wonderland for them. I don't know why.
It is.
I feel like you could take a vegetarian and it would turn them. Like it is absolutely so powerful.
100%.
Oh my god.
It's such a powerful experience.
Oh Lord.
No, but seriously, it's a great place to take anybody, but especially dudes. If you're like, I don't know where to take a dude that he'd like be really into, that's like, you know, kind of like cool and like different than like a normal restaurant. Brazilian steakhouse, you'll win every single time. Also, if you're a girl who likes to eat meat, you cannot lose.
Yeah.
Even I'm the type of person that like I go between eating like absolutely no meat, like vegan.
Yeah, you do.
And being absolutely crazy about it, but it will always point out of a vegan face. Always.
It's the power of the Brazilian steakhouse.
Always.
Oh god, like a siren's call.
God,
a lighthouse in a stormy sea.
It is the culinary equivalent exactly of that. Like that's exactly what it is. This is why I think about it like once an hour. Like I need I need to block it out and forget that it exists until the end of the month, but I'm so excited now. I've talked about it. This is not the first time I've talked about it today either.
We're going to look back at the recording and we're going to see that we spent like the first half of the podcast just talking about a steakhouse.
And you know what? Rightfully so. I'm not going to have any regrets.
That's fair.
I'm an Aries. We don't have those. I'm also an Aries. We tell everyone that we're Aries, like also once an hour.
Oh,
you guys are
I'm a
new
Leo.
Here. Oh,
I'm a Leo according to like the OG thing, but I heard that they changed. If not, then I'm a Cancer.
I think you're a Leo.
I think I'm a Leo. I don't think I'm that self-centered though, but I think part of it is just because I'm a mom.
Oh, LOL.
Well, also you have to consider your moon sign, you know.
Which we know so much about. We are experts.
Yeah.
I think my moon sign is a Gemini.
Oh my god, is it?
I think so.
LOL.
My rising is Gemini.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Grayson's a Gemini.
I forget about that all the time.
I love that.
That explains a lot.
Right.
Just walking up to friends and screaming with delight.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Or angry. You never really know which one it is.
See, there she goes.
She does sound very similar when she's angry and happy. Like she was, what was it? It was at church and I forget she was laughing, but the way she was laughing sounded like aggressively crying. And some kid walked by and was like, wow, she's upset. And I was like, nope, she's very happy. No, but it does sound like it.
You got to tell, she has a grunt. She'll grunt with her screams if she's upset.
To really let you know, like to really hammer it home.
Wait, she'll grunt.
That is
It's
so
terrifying.
funny.
Her growl. She'll
She
just walk
I
around
after her
growling if
growl.
she's mad.
Oh, it's
She
so
got
funny.
that.
I love that. I'm gonna teach her how to hiss at people.
Oh no, I don't want her to be that kid, please.
I was that kid. What's wrong? What's wrong with that kid?
I know.
I'm still that kid.
I know you're that kid. And I beat up your bullies for you. You realize that, right?
I appreciate that. But listen. I appreciated it then. I appreciate it now. But I kind of had things handled. You know, all you have to do is hiss at them.
Yeah, you thought you had things handled.
That's one way to handle
Sweet
them.
girl. Sweet little hissing girl. Didn't realize her younger sister was totally handling it for her.
I knew because I had to wait for...
I got the nickname Demon Spawn with all the 4th grade boys at the elementary school.
Because I had to wait for her to get out of class for us to walk home together. And then she'd show up on the playground and start kicking him in the shins. Yeah, I was fully aware. It was a good time.
That's good.
My mom never knew that we did that until years later.
Yeah.
She had no idea.
It wasn't even a secret, I don't think. I guess it just never came up.
I didn't ever get reprimanded for it either. It was on school grounds.
Listen, it was after school hours. All right. If I was a teacher and it was after school hours, I'm like, I'm off the clock. Whatever happens out there happens.
Right. Y'all don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
But, yeah. Anyways, speaking of zodiac signs, do we want to get into our author bio?
Yeah, let's do it.
My guess is Scorpio.
Ooh.
Or Virgo.
Why would you think Scorpio for this guy?
Or Virgo.
Or Virgo.
Oh, yeah, Virgo. I could see Virgo for sure.
Well, I'm going to let you in on a secret. That's not such a secret because the whole internet knows it. So the author of Catcher in the Rye, which is the book we're doing today, if we didn't say, the author is J.D. Salinger, and he is a Capricorn.
That was my next guess. No joke.
Okay, yep. Capricorn King.
He's
that
a Capricorn.
So much sense.
Yes, we love a Capricorn. We love Capricorns here.
There are hardly any of us that we'd ever find doing these.
I know. I feel like we don't ever find any Capricorns for you or any Aries for me. It's like very weird how few of our own signs we stumble upon.
I know. I feel like every other person is like a freaking Sagittarius or whatever.
Oh my God. Yeah, they're all Sagittarius. Why are there so many Sagittarius authors?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's so weird. Okay, so full disclosure, I totally forgot to do the bio. I remembered yesterday, forgot today. Was too busy thinking about the Brazilian steakhouse. So I am just gonna kind of wing it based on this. So I'm gonna do my best, and I'm sorry if it's a little bit crazy. So J.D. Salinger, and I think that's how you pronounce his name. I told Chris I was gonna look it up, and then I didn't.
I think it is Salinger. Yeah, well, remember on You how Peach is distantly related to him? That's her last name.
God,
that's how I've always heard it said.
Salinger.
Yeah. Right. So J.D. Salinger, his full name was Jerome David Salinger. So Jerome, he was born January 1st in 1919. He was born in New York, New York. And he was obviously an American writer who's most famous for his novel, The Catcher in the Rye, which was published in 1951. So let's see, he published a lot of other stuff as well. A lot of stuff for magazines and newspapers. I think it might be raining outside. Cool. So we'll get into more of his acclaim later, but he was definitely very popular in his time. One of those lucky bastards who doesn't have to wait to be dead to be popular. And so he was the son of a Jewish father and a Christian mother. And like, I'm going to do a direct quote. This is all from Britannica.com, by the way. We love Britannica. Quote, like Holden Caulfield, the hero of The Catcher in the Rye, he grew up in New York City, attending public schools and a military academy. I just had to do a direct quote for that because Holden Caulfield, we're going to call him the hero, really? I know he's the protagonist, but we're going to call him the hero?
Listen, I will not tolerate the Holden slander on here. I have strong opinions.
I also have strong opinions about Holden. We'll get into it. It's not slander. I'm just telling you guys the truth about him. Anyways, so he apparently attended multiple public schools and a military academy. I don't know if that's because he had issues in school, like the protagonist in Catcher in the Rye, or not. It's not saying here. I don't know if it'll get into that later, but something to consider. So he went to, this says after brief periods at New York and Columbia University. So I don't know that he actually graduated, but he did attend for some periods of time, university in New York and Columbia. He devoted himself entirely to writing. So his stories first appeared in periodicals starting around 1940. And when he returned from serving in the U.S. Army, which he did from 1942 to 1946, he started to become really increasingly associated with the New Yorker magazine because they published most of his later stories. So he wrote quite a bit inspired by his wartime experiences. For example, one that was published in 1950 was called For Esme with Love and Squalor. So, I mean, I like the title. Don't know what it's about, but let's see, he wrote something else in 1948 called A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, which is funny, but the brief description about it here says, quote, concerns the suicide of the sensitive, despairing veteran Seymour Glass. So for such a fun, whimsical name, the content is perhaps not all that fun and whimsical. Let's see. So I've seen this comparison made several times, and I'm going to probably make it myself when we talk about it. Some people felt that the language style, or I guess I should say like the dialectical approach to writing The Catcher in the Rye makes it kind of feel like when you read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which I love. And I do, and I did love that. I will say right up front, I loved that about this book. I love when somebody writes from a really strong, really like genuine dialect. I don't know what's happening with Madison's camera right now,
what happened.
But Maddie just went like full black. Oh, she's back. She went like full like black and white frozen.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was very strange.
I hadn't heard that
comparison.
No, but I see it.
Yeah, I mean, very different dialects. So like, I mean, obviously Huckleberry Finn he speaks like an uneducated child from his time period in the South, and then the Holden Caulfield, the protagonist in The Catcher in the Rye, I think it's the 1940s, I think, and he's a teenager, so he speaks very much like a teenager would speak. Loads of profanity, which I'm just not a huge fan of, but I mean, not that it wasn't authentic, and I think it should be written however was authentic, but just it made me not like Holden Caulfield as a person, like as a character. I was like, I don't think we'd be friends, dude. Also, your life choices are like, but I'll get into that later. Apparently we have some Holden Caulfield lovers. I can't believe anyone would be like a fan of this boy. I am so confused. I'm so confused.
You're gonna have to like cut my scream there, Ash. That was so loud. I was not expecting that.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
I am in so much shock about I will get into it, but oh my god. So he published a collection of short stories in 1953 called 9 Stories. I wonder how many stories were in it.
Good one.
Thanks.
9, probably.
Probably, yeah.
If I had to guess.
Let's see. He continued writing about so the character Seymour Glass from that weird A Perfect Day for Banana Fish thing. He kind of continued writing about like from the perspective of other children in that family. Basically kept kind of writing a series of stories about them. So apparently later in life, Salinger became very reclusive, and it makes his personal life kind of hard to sort out, which I was thinking, kind of curious, there's not really much about his personal life here, I guess because he was a recluse. So which maybe Holden Caulfield would have been better if he was. But anyways, let's see what else. So the last work that Salinger published when he was alive was a novella, which was called Hapworth 16, 1924. And it appeared in The New Yorker in 1965. And then I believe after his death in 1974, the complete uncollected short stories of J.D. Salinger, which was a 2-volume work of his early pieces, was unauthorized, but was briefly released to the public. Oh no, he was still alive, but sales were halted because he filed a lawsuit for copyright infringement because he hadn't authorized the release. So he was still alive at that point. But yeah, so that's kind of his thing. Let me see when he passed away. Let's see. He passed away on January 27th, 2010 in New Hampshire.
Wow.
He was 91. So he lived a long life.
More recent than I thought.
way more recent. I can't believe that J.D. Salinger passed away in 2010. Like, I have like full-on memories probably from 2010.
I definitely do.
I was definitely, 13
Not
years
as many.
old.
You have not as many as me, though, I'm sure.
I'm sure I don't have as many, but the ones I have are at least accurate.
Oh my
That
God.
was when you were in your recluse phase.
That was when I was I had just entered my goth phase. Maybe it's because I sensed Salinger had left us.
Yeah, you were vibing.
I was vibing. Yeah, I just didn't know that I was. But anyway, so that is what I know about J.D. Salinger as of about a minute ago.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ash.
Now let's get into this damn main character.
Let's get into
And
this
I
damn
make
book.
a note really quick.
Yes.
Okay, so J.D. Salinger, his middle name is David, and I tried to find the quote in the book and I couldn't find it. But he makes a specific quote about how stupid the name David is and how there's so many people named David in New York
That's
City.
hilarious. Sounds like me talking about being an Ashley.
Yeah, I'm like, that's funny now to just think back that I'm like, he gave himself a hard time in this book. I have a feeling that he was probably not too far off from having the same internal dialogue as Holden sometimes.
Well, here's my thing then. I don't think I would like him because Holden Caulfield is a mess. Not even in an endearing way. This is why I don't understand. I don't find him endearing at all.
I 100% disagree. The entire time I'm reading the book, I'm like, I will do anything to protect this boy. He is a tiny baby who I am like, here's the thing.
He's 16 years old in the 40s. He's not a baby.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like a young adult.
16-year-olds are babies. I'm sorry.
He's a young adult. This is the 40s.
The whole time I'm like, I was so upset that all these things were happening. And I'm like, you're 16, you're a child. But here's what I'm going to say. For years and years and years, I feel like either you love this book or you hate it. Because I've heard people say oh, Holden Caulfield's so annoying and all of this. And so I started reading the book with that in mind, I'm probably not going to like this. And immediately I have no idea what everyone's talking about. He's perfectly normal and cute.
What?
He's not normal, but
he's such a wreck.
He's not normal, but I don't understand why you would hate him.
Because he's I don't hate him, but I definitely wouldn't I'd be friends with him, but he'd be friend. I'm always oh my God, how did you self-sabotage today, Holden?
Yeah, I know. I feel so sad for him. I could forgive him for almost anything because he's a 16-year-old. Of course he's going to be a little bit annoying.
I'm just saying, 16-year-olds can do better. I did better as a 16-year-old.
I think that people don't like him because he's a manic pixie dream boy, but I'm like, you cannot fault him for being a manic pixie dream boy when he's the OG. He's the original.
That's definitely not my problem. I have no problem with a manic pixie dream boy or dream girl. I have no problem with that. He did not come across that way to me at all. He just seemed irresponsible, even for a 16-year-old. He just seemed irresponsible and he should be doing a lot better job of just kind of regulating himself and making plans. I went to school out of state when I was 17. I definitely didn't have any of these weird problems Holden is having.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have problems, but I'm
major problems.
I don't have any. I don't think that he's a bad person or a bad character because he has issues.
I don't think he's a bad person or a bad character. I just think I wouldn't like him very much, and I don't.
I think he's a nice boy, though. I don't think there's anything mean or malicious about him.
I don't think he's kind of self-serving. I don't know that he is that nice of a dude. I think he's just a 16-year-old boy. I think he's still kind of in that egocentric phase. I think he's kind of all about him. He kind of cares about his little sister, but
yeah, Maddie, tell us what you think. Tell us.
Yeah, so I see where each side is coming from. But I think the reason why I like it so much is that when you look at the actual dialogue, there's not a ton. It's mostly just his internal thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, as someone I went through a little bit more of a rougher phase when I was a teenager
and your
than
Ash
or probably even Kendall went through.
Yeah,
and in my early
for sure.
college years. Mm-hmm. And I'm and dealt with mental health stuff. And so I'm I think I can relate to a lot of the internal monologue. He, had going. And so I'm I don't necessarily I don't want to go hug him. I'm just I've been in the place where I've literally just thought about what is every self-deprecating thing that I could possibly do. I think for me, he was really relatable, and maybe that sounds awful.
No,
I mean,
but he was relatable to the darkest moments in my life, like the really hard stuff when I was still trying to be really genuine to myself.
Yeah.
I think he was just honest with himself. He even would be like, look, I know this is stupid. I know that I shouldn't be thinking about this. I don't want to be a phony. This makes me a phony. Like, I just like the honesty, you know?
Totally, that's so interesting that you say that, because while I'm reading this, I'm 26, so to me he's a baby, but I've been thinking, like, what would my impression be if I read this when I was 16? You know?
Yeah,
I've been thinking about how people might have, honestly, I think I would have had a crush on him, unfortunate as that is.
I absolutely
definitely would have.
Because the thing is I read this like the first or second semester of my sophomore year in high school in an AP Lit class. And that was like right when like my family imploded. And so I'm like, that was like one of like the hardest times. And so I think I was having so many of those thoughts. Whereas Holden, yes, he was pretty privileged in his life and he didn't really have a whole lot of like
that's part of my thing too.
To be thinking I'm the way that he was.
Your life's pretty chill, my dude.
But then I'm like, you know what? He's dealing with mental health, which he obviously was.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Our boy is like definitely telling this from like a mental institution or something.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
it's not that I don't have sympathy for him and he is a 16-year-old and all of what he's going through is perfectly valid. It's not that he's a poorly written character either. And like, I absolutely love the way this book is written. Just as a person, I don't vibe with Holden Caulfield and I definitely don't understand having a crush on him in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand it at all.
I don't know that I can explain it, but I know that it's what would have happened. I know it for a fact.
He would have been one of my friends that I was constantly checking in with, like, how you doing, Holden? What's going on? Like, how can I help you out this week? Are you okay? Do you need to talk about your feelings some? It would have definitely been a one-way friendship because Holden couldn't give. Honestly, he's not at the place where he could give in a two-way friendship. That's why he's so egocentric, because he has to be, because he's internally falling apart. He has nothing to offer anyone else.
Where are you getting this egocentric?
Well, and I think
okay, so because all he thinks about is him.
That I was reading this
I don't mean. Can I say something?
We're all so passionate.
Before I forget, because I have a bad memory here. So let me just before I forget. I don't mean. Yeah, I always admit I have a bad memory. I don't have an inaccurate memory. I have a bad memory. There's a difference. Anyways,
I don't know.
I do. So, anyways, I don't mean egocentric in like a bad way. I mean like in a developmentally way, egocentric, because he has to be, because he has so much internally going on that he's trying to deal with. He has to be focused on just trying to not like explode all the time, like self-destruct all the time. So he doesn't really have a lot to offer the world at this point, because he's just trying to keep himself from imploding. That's what I mean by egocentric, not like in like a negative way, just in like his stage of development, because he has to be way.
Okay, I can agree with that. Also, I agree with that. One of his things is that he's like, obviously one of the themes I think is that he's kind of immature. He's holding on to childhood.
Yeah. And he owns up to it too.
Yeah.
Even like within like the first like chapter or two.
Yeah, he does say that. He's like, I am immature.
Yeah. He's like, I'm 16, almost 17, and I act like I'm
12. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the egocentrism of a younger child, but in a 16-year-old boy, that made me go, not attractive at all.
I do have to say, and what I was trying to say before is that I think also around this time that I was reading it in high school was I dated a guy whose name was very similar to Holden.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he was very similar, like personality wise too.
He had tiny hands.
Like he was going through stuff and did not share that stuff with me. You could tell he had a lot of internal dialogue.
Probably about his tiny hands.
Dang.
If anybody from that town, they will absolutely know who it is.
That's such a weird thing. The only reason I know was because he said something. Who would notice hand size?
He did bring it up a lot.
That was very Holden Caulfield of him.
Self-conscious.
Well, and he also outwardly said that if he had known my sister before me, he would have dated her.
Oh.
So no, which I'm like,
he wouldn't have.
She would have dated.
He might have wanted to, but he wouldn't have.
and I realize as an adult now, I'm like looking back and I'm like, a lot of the things that I think Holden was dealing with and the internal dialogue that he dealt with, that I was attracted to him, I think it was because I was also dating someone at the time that I felt was struggling with a lot of the same stuff. And who, like, I really liked. He's like my first serious boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I could see that
in high school. And so it's like, I think I have a soft heart for him that way too.
Yeah.
But
I guess to me, Holden reminds me of a lot of my, not a lot of, but several of my dude friends who you probably will recall. I did not date a lot of people. I had a lot of friends-ish, like acquaintances, not like close friends.
People.
No, that's not what I meant.
Maybe not a lot of almost dating.
I had a lot of dude friends, and the reason that I didn't date any of them was because a lot of them were kind of like this, in a sense, where they would kind of come to me when they needed to like just like verbalize some internal meltdown they were having all the time, and it was all perfectly valid, and I was glad that I could be there for them. What they were going through was a totally valid experience, but it didn't make me go, the picture of emotional stability, this person definitely has room for me in their life. So I was like never like attracted to any of these dudes. A lot of them did end up kind of having a crush on me, but not for the right reasons, just because I was the person that like Holden Caulfield would be talking to. Like that was just me. I was on the receiving end of all of the Holden Caulfield stuff. This was the dialogue that I got from my dude friends, like from several of them on a like daily basis. So I'm kind of like, I've heard it all. It's valid. Let's move on. Because after a little while of self-sabotaging, I'm like, we've been over this, I feel like a good 10 times. I'm not sure what else I can say.
I'm sure that's how everyone in Holden's life feels as well. But for me, who he's telling all of his internal dialogue to as the reader, I had to be attached. I'm like, I have to be on your side. Like,
I'm not on his side. I'm just a little impatient with him, is what it is.
I think I also absolutely related to the train of thought, and we can get into like the writing part of it too, Ash. I'm sure you have plenty of opinions on that. But it's like the most run-on sentence in the whole world. And it goes from his brain, like his internal dialogue goes from one topic to another, like a split second, and then we'll pop back to what he was talking to before.
It's almost
I love that because that's how my brain works.
Yeah. It's almost a stream of consciousness, and I do love that. Huckleberry Finn kind of does the same thing, which is why I said I have very extreme opinions in both directions. I love the narration. I love the way this is written. Everything about the way this book is written, I think, is completely masterful. I love it. I love the dialect. I love the colloquialism. I love the stream of consciousness. I love the run-on sentences. Zero problem with it. Even though I don't like profanity, I accept that it was like such a good choice for an authentic character, for the authentic teenager from the 40s. So I'm like, I can't really complain about that either. So this is why I'm saying I have very extreme opinions. Holden Caulfield, I would not call him the hero of the story. I would call him the protagonist and also the antagonist of his own story. But
for sure.
As we all are sometimes, though, right?
Yes. No, we are, absolutely. But I guess I like my stories with every character should also be their own antagonist to some degree, because that's just a real human experience. But there should also be some kind of external, I feel like, antagonistic force, instead of just like, this is a privileged young man who's gotten to go to a lot of schools and is kind of just flunked out on purpose because he doesn't want to do the work. And he also doesn't know how to have a two-way conversation with anyone because he's so like busy trying to keep himself from losing it all the time.
I think what was also different about this is it didn't necessarily tell like an overarching story.
Yes, and that was
like
hard
a massive plot. It like happened in the matter of like a week.
Yep.
And there was
and it wasn't even a coming of age story. No character development. This is not a coming of age story. I had a really hard time like pinpointing the genre because it's not coming of age. It's like a slice of life.
It is
like a really bad slice of this guy's life.
He pretends like he's gonna change at the end, but it's kind of like, will he, or you never really know. But I will say, as somebody who has discovered on this podcast that I love stories that have no plot, I was so into it. I was like, hell yes, don't give me any antagonists. I just want to see him vibe. I was loving it.
That is, and that's just not me at all, which is just purely a preference thing. Like, it's not a critique of it. It's just what the book is. And that is just not my vibe. A slice of life vibe has never been my vibe. And this was like the one slice of his life that got like dropped on the floor and scooped back up, and it's all gross and stuff.
Ooh,
and he was like,
I love that.
That's what this slice of life was.
It's a character study that he is telling you himself. It's like he's analyzing his own character. He's almost an unreliable narrator in that way,
100%.
But
Yeah, which I like. I love an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I really enjoyed the fact that it explored his relationship. Like, he has all these different types of relationships with people in his life. Like, it's all like vastly different. Like, he can have close relationships and people that mean something to him, but the reason why they mean something to him is like vastly different. And it's like very different from probably why anybody would have a relationship with anybody else. Like,
what close relationship did he have that was two-way aside from his younger sister Phoebe?
Well, okay, I say no, I'm not saying two-way relationships necessarily.
Oh. Okay.
But like, yeah, the people that he encounters,
the people that he encounters, the people that he talks about experiencing, like in his past schools and stuff like that, like the reason why they mean something to him is really different from how most people would think of people that mean something to them.
That's true.
And also,
I think I had a hard time relating to that with him.
We are invalidating, we haven't mentioned yet, he did experience a very intense trauma, and I think that he is just massively depressed from that. And so he does live a privileged life, but I think you can't invalidate that he is dealing with a lot in his head because his brother
dealing
died.
with a lot in his head.
Like, and also he saw that kid like die on the steps of the school, and also then his brother died. There's a lot going on with him, and he doesn't even tell you about all of it until like you're in the book. It's like he's also kind of like doesn't
he'll like drop these little things that are like, oh hey, this was this little piece of trauma in my past. Hey, like if you put all the puzzle pieces together, you're like, this is like really like major, like he needs help.
No, I think his problems are 100% valid, and his trauma was 100%
kind of doesn't
valid.
want to even acknowledge. I think that those are why.
I don't no, he definitely doesn't want to.
He's I think I don't know. There's a lot going on with our boy for sure.
There is, and everyone probably has big feelings about this kid one way or the other. I don't dislike him as like a person. Like, I don't want bad things for him, I just I definitely don't. I would never have had a crush on him. I will just say that he's not an attractive personality to me in any way.
I think that's fair. I see it both ways,
As an adult, I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Like, exactly.
Oh, that explains it. I've been 80 years old my whole life. Yeah,
like looking back at how I was then, it was just like it was also interesting to me to have someone who thought differently, who didn't want to be around phonies. When you're trying to figure out how to individualize yourself in high school.
Yeah, but
set yourself apart. That's like going to be the most attractive thing in another person.
Good point,
I guess
Maddie.
so.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. I've been an old person since I was born, I guess. So I didn't really have that. And so the same thing that I saw teenagers do when I was a teenager, where they would just call everything phony because they were trying to be true to themselves, And so I think that most teenagers go through this phase of kind of like identifying everything else as fake or phony if it's not, their individual thing, because they're trying to be true to themselves, which is totally valid part of development. I didn't really have that. I just saw that and I went, oh, I can see what they're doing. I'm just going to skip that step. And I'm just going to know in my head, like, what might actually be phony. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and not bother to call all of it out, which a lot of teenagers do because it's a totally normal part of development. That's a good thing. And so Holden was doing that too. And it just, like, when I saw teenagers my age doing it, and I was like, it's unnecessary. It's a waste of energy. I felt the same way with Holden.
It certainly causes a lot of heartache.
Yeah, and I felt that way with Holden, but not because he's, a bad character, it's because he's a 16-year-old. And I was like, ooh, well, unnecessary.
That's what I'm thinking, because like the whole book I was so protective of him, I think, because he's to me tiny
16.
and 16 and because I can see right through his like they're a bunch of phonies, because like he's like, I hate going to the movies are everyone's so phony there, and then what does he do? Go to the movies. He's a hypocrite a lot of the time, but
because he's trying to be true to himself.
He's trying so hard, I think, and he's just not getting anything right, and
he's trying so hard in what feels like all the wrong ways, and
it made me sad.
I have this very vicious impatience for incompetence in myself, and I know it's not nice, but occasionally I'm like, I feel like you could have done better and you intentionally did bad. Like self-sabotaging is just not something I have a ton of patience for. Like the first few times I'm like, all right. But when you keep self-sabotaging in the exact same way, at some point I'm like, well, it's not that I'm like not concerned at all for you. I just like I'm not as moved by it basically.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I was trying to think of like what number he would be like on the Enneagram. I've been getting into the Enneagram again.
He thinks
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I was also like he's constantly like seeking like thriller entertainment. So I'm like, maybe he's like an 8 leaning like 7.
I'm an 8. What are you talking about?
No. I know. But I'm only saying that because of aggression. That's why the aggression is what makes me think he leans 8.
Oh, I didn't think he was very aggressive.
I think he has some pretty staunch opinions. He says he's a pacifist, but when you look at like his actions,
well, all teenagers are extreme in their opinions because they think that they're right.
And so it could be developmentally. Like I think so. But I do think that he has like some 7 tendencies, and like
I think he's an
seeking
extremely
pleasure
sensitive
to avoid pain.
Ooh, yeah. He's sensitive. I do think he seeks pleasure to avoid pain for sure. He's like,
and that's like the biggest thing for 7s.
Yeah. I think that maybe a lot of it is that he made me sad, so I was extra protective of him because like he's I don't know, he does do all of this.
No. Sweet. Thank God one of us is.
I seriously was like, if anything bad happens to this child, I will lose my mind. Like, I was so stressed out the whole book.
I was like, bad stuff is going to happen because he's making bad choices, and I won't be surprised. This is going to suck for him. I'm from the start.
What I liked is that I felt like if I knew this person in real life, then he'd be the type of person that I could tell them, like, hey, cut that shit out. And he would be like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, he would respect it because he hates he likes authenticity is what it is.
He would respect it, but no, guys, this is not a kid who's ready to actually hear things and make a change because he has the opportunity to many times.
I'm not saying he would change himself, but he would hear you out.
He would hear you out and he would appreciate it. Like you look at like the teachers that he bonded with most. They're the ones that were like, hey, you're an idiot. Yeah. Why are you doing this? Why didn't you pay attention to my lectures?
Oh no, he would definitely. I guess I had enough of this with my dude friendships. I'm like, I'm good. I know exactly where this road goes. Like I know exactly. And yes, they will hear you out and appreciate it. And they're great. And they're just going through what's completely valid. But I know exactly where this road leads. Like 100% Holden.
Well, I'm hoping that he's able to turn it around.
Oh no, I know he will. He will be able to turn it around. It's it's going to take him longer and it's going to be harder for him than it had to be.
And I don't think that he's even doing anything like really that bad except for like not going to school and kind of like bumming around. Like no, it's just his sins are so minor, really,
in every little way. Yeah, no, he doesn't do anything big. That's why he's not a bad dude. He's not like making bad decisions
at his heart.
Yeah, he's just every little decision he makes a self-sabotaging one. So those all kind of just pile up.
I think also having his like constant internal dialogue, like stream of consciousness, you see like he shares a lot of his worst thoughts, like his most like pessimistic thoughts. And every once in a while he'll drop in like one of those things about how he thinks about women and he thinks that you should respect them and you shouldn't use them, you know, or you shouldn't sleep with them if you don't really, really like them.
I appreciated that about our boy.
And like there's like little parts of him that like you can really see the goodness. But when he's in this, like you see the period of a week that is just like a chunk of his life that was just really hard. And I'm like, he's having all of these dark, awful thoughts. So of course you're gonna feel like he's unloading it on you because you're reading his consciousness.
Yeah, but Phoebe even indicates that this is how he's been for a long time. And the fact that he's been kicked out of multiple schools indicates that this is a very, very much an ongoing problem. And because this trauma has happened a while ago, like I felt like there was every indication that this was not just a week of his life, that this is kind of how he is. Yes, this is a slightly worse week than usual, but this isn't even the first time he's flunked out of a school.
Honestly, it makes me wonder if like he maybe struggles with like bipolar or something. Because the whole time I was like, I feel like I'm reading someone who's having like a manic episode.
Yeah.
That was a lot of what I thought about it.
Possible.
And I mean, you look at him, he literally he eats, like, he mentions eating twice in the book. And besides that, he smokes like 4 packs of cigarettes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, of course he's not going to be hungry. He's not taking care of himself from like a mental health standpoint.
He does drink a lot and he smokes a lot and he doesn't eat anything.
No.
God.
Yeah.
He
needs help. He needs help.
He does. And even his friends said, hey, you need to go to the psychoanalyst, which at the time they didn't really have psychiatrists. They were psychoanalysts.
Yeah.
So it's like, it makes sense. That's like the most mental health you could get back then.
Yeah.
They probably just gave you some coke and call it good. So
maybe our boy could have used some. I mean, literally anything other than what he was doing might have been better.
Mix it up a bit, Holden. Oh my God.
Anyways, all this has just been our assessment of the book.
Yeah,
Should we give a summary at all?
I don't know how much we need to do really, because I kind of enjoy just talking about it. I guess we can say like basically what it's about, you know?
Yeah.
So basically what it's about is Holden Caulfield is the main character. He's 16. He goes to a like a boys' academy, basically. That's like very, you know, people are like, oh, that's a good school. But he is flunking out. They're kicking him out, and it's like about to be winter break. And so he gets in a fight with his roommate over this girl that he kind of likes, but then the roommate went out with him. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And he's kind of like, screw this. I'm just gonna go like hang out in New York City for a while, which is where he lives, for like until Wednesday, whenever everyone's expecting me home. Because that's when the winter break is.
Because he got kicked out. He failed every class except for English.
Yeah.
So he got kicked out and his parents hadn't been told yet.
Yeah. So he's waiting for them to get the letter.
Yeah.
You know what?
This is the 4th one.
Ash, I'm going to say something extremely controversial, but I think it's correct. Haley and I were talking about this. You know who Holden Caulfield gives me? Percy Jackson. This is the same situation. And they kind of have the same, like, I'm going to tell you a story kind of narration going on.
I think Percy at the age of 12 has far better emotional regulation and decision-making skills. But other than that, I would agree.
I'm not saying they have the same issues necessarily, but they have similar vibes to me. At least the stories kind of do. And they're both
where they are developmentally similar, unfortunately. A 16-year-old and a 12-year-old.
No. Where they were at developmentally, Percy is far ahead of Holden Caulfield in this week of his life.
But you also don't see as much internal dialogue from Percy.
Yes, you do. It's in first person, and it's almost stream of consciousness.
Okay, you forget Percy was struggling a lot in the first.
He was struggling, but not like Holden Caulfield.
He's not having a mental breakdown, no. But I think that like there is some comparison to be made.
I feel like Percy Jackson learns things and then, you know, moves on and doesn't make the same mistakes twice. I feel like Holden Caulfield, by every indication, has just been making the same mistakes for quite a while, and he's still doing it. He's like, why is my life so hard? And I'm like, my sweet, it's because you're doing the same thing every time.
I don't want to be that person, but it was also like a different like time. Like it was like the late 40s, like post World War II.
Yeah, post World War II. He just lived through World War II.
Rough.
Which is why, but he wasn't in the war. Here's what I'm saying is, by that argument, if you're going to take that argument, people were expected to grow up much faster. So a 16-year-old then should be a lot more like a 19-year-old now.
But should they have been expected
to grow up? We're not about should. It's about would they have been.
Okay, but maybe that's why he was struggling, because he was fighting against this urge to stay in childhood when everybody wanted him to grow up.
So
he needed to grow up. He needed to grow up.
He's hanging on to his childhood because his brother died. He's stuck in a limbo. He just lived through World War II. Everyone has expectations of him.
Y'all, I grew up real freaking young, and I don't regret it. I think it saved me a lot of pain.
I literally forced myself. So the last 2 years of high school, the first 2 years of college, I forced myself. I mean, I did a lot of stupid self-deprecating stuff, but I grew from it. Like, I made a lot of stupid Holden Caulfield decisions.
Yeah, there's still time for him.
I learned from it.
I also feel like he is immature, but I don't think he's so immature that it's like insane. I think literally the only things he does is have a hard time at school and not relate to people very well. So he puts up a mask of like being like, whatever, I don't care. I think that's literally all he does.
I
And
don't
he's
think he's
having a breakdown.
extreme. I don't think he's an extreme example.
I
Like I
don't
said,
think
he
he's
reminds
that,
me of the dudes that I was friends with, genuinely friends
but
with and cared about.
he is literally 16. To me, 16 is tiny. I don't think we should
Yeah.
expect him to have it all together at 16. Like I feel like there are 16-year-olds who are way less mature than he is. He's out on his own in New York.
This
He's
is not
doing
I'm not
things by
comparing
himself.
him.
Well, you guys, not you guys, but you, Ash. I'm saying
Yeah, thank you, Kendall.
He's so immature. Like, he's so developmentally delayed. I think he's fine. He's going to be okay. He's just going through a rough patch. Okay, stop being mean to my boy.
I'm not being mean to him. I think objectively he is somewhat delayed for his age. I don't think he's severely delayed. He reminds me of guys that I knew when they were 16. However, when I was 16, I was eons beyond some of this stuff. Not that I was like a perfect 16-year-old. I had my own issues. No, I had issues in other areas, but I did kind of skip over some of the more stereotypical teenager ones, which is probably why I don't relate to him as well. So I know that's part of it. But
that's the thing, is I feel like you have such little grace for him because you completely skipped your entire like teenager, adolescent.
Well, here's why.
It's because to just being like a 30-year-old woman.
Well, here, an 80-year-old woman, thank you. And I was an 80-year-old woman before then, too.
You're much more mobile. You're very spry for an 80-year-old.
Yeah, you're doing great. You look awesome.
Like Wheezy. Oh, thanks,
you just
guys.
need an oxygen tank.
Yeah, I'm spry. I just need an oxygen tank. No, I'm not trying to not have grace for him. The grace that I had for this type of personality, I really feel like I expended almost all that I had on my friends. And I love them to this day. But man, it takes a toll to be the close friends of someone who goes through these episodes like this repeatedly. It takes such a toll to see them hurt and to hurt for them and to know that they're just going to have to live through it because they'll listen to you, but they're not ready developmentally. They're not ready to make the changes to get out of this quite yet. And so you just have to see them suffer. And that is so painful. So seeing that with him, I was like, no, I thought I was kind of done with this because my friends had finally kind of aged out of it, but it took so long. And so I'm like, I don't want to experience this again. That was so heavy.
Fair.
That makes so much sense because there was like a good 2 years when you, like your first couple years out of college that you and I did not get along at all. And it makes so much sense because that's when I was in my like Holden Caulfield phase. Yeah. And you were already just done with it.
I was done with it. I would never try to be. Also, here's the difference is I was still friends with guys who, while I was in college, were going through that, and that I was okay with that. But you're my little sister, so very different. Like you weren't gonna take the advice from me like Holden Caulfield might. You were gonna be like, "Screw you, bitch," you know, like you were not gonna like take anything I had to say. So
I think really those might have been my exact words.
I know. So that's the thing. So we couldn't be as close because I didn't have any kind of in. My friends who were going through this kind of Holden Caulfield phase while I was in college, they were letting me speak into their lives at least, and we had like a bit of a dialogue. So even though I'm like just watching them self-destruct over and over, at least we could have some kind of contact and they could know that I cared about them. You were kind of like, F off, sister. I got this by myself. I don't want to hear what you have to say.
I knew consciously I could absolutely have skipped that phase, but I didn't want to.
Oh, see, I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all.
I was in the same, I was in a weird place, like mentally, like Holden was. The thing is Holden can say that all the stuff that he's doing is probably really bad. He can be like, I know I smoke too much, and that's why I'm short of breath all the time. I know I need to eat more. That's why I'm a skinny mofo. Like, he owns up to it. He's like, I could do these things better, but I choose not to. Like, he knows where he's at. He's very self-aware.
I guess so.
Like, you have to look at like the autonomy of like, what if someone just wants to be in that place in their life?
Why would they want? See, that makes me angry. Why?
Like, has this idea. I think
sometimes you need to put yourself through stuff that's harder than what you know that you're trying, like whatever you're pushing aside. You need to put yourself something that's worse. So he was putting himself through all these things that were worse than his brother's death.
Maddie,
he had to have some sort of a pain that he understood.
What this goes back to, Maddie, is one of probably you and my's biggest philosophical difference in life, and has always been, because we've had this exact conversation word for word several times, where you have said to me that you don't believe that you can really learn a lesson without going through something. You can't learn from someone else's experience.
I think you can, but I think they're different personalities can.
Yeah, you think... Okay, yeah, you think, I guess you never said the different personality things before, but you have said to me before that you don't think that you can learn from someone else's experience. Like, flatline, that was what you were living by for a while.
I struggled to.
And see, this is where philosophically,
from other people.
This is where I philosophically disagree. I have learned many things from watching other people just fail. Many things I still wasn't keeping an eye out for, and I screwed up myself, because that's just being a human. But I definitely believe that you can learn from others' experiences, and I do not believe that there is anyone who can't do that. I do believe that some people have a harder time with it, and maybe they don't do it as naturally. I think being a middle child, I do kind of think that, because I get to like look up and watch Caleb and look down and watch you, I do think that I kind of had more of an opportunity to develop that, like watching you guys do stuff and kind of learning from y'all's experiences. But I believe every human is capable of doing that. No, it just might come more or less naturally.
I think every human is capable of doing it. I do, but I think it's a lot more of a learned behavior for people like myself. Like I do that much more now. And it absolutely is worth learning. I'm not going to discredit that.
In high school, you were so adamantly, anytime I said anything related to that, you were like, abso-freaking-lutely not, but with more profanity.
It's because I absolutely wanted myself. I knew exactly where I was. I've always been very self-aware, and I wanted to be there. And I didn't want anybody to question why I was there, because I was doing it on purpose.
Why? This is straight my personality. I don't understand why.
It was stupid, but I was a teenager, and I needed some sort of pain that I put in my own life instead of being inflicted upon me. I needed something that I could grasp.
I guess I understand.
Wow, there you go. Because that's another thing. Maybe I think Holden, he is so resistant, obviously, to growing up, because I think he's stunted because of his brother's stuff. But also, I think that he is terrified of, like, he kind of does have this I don't want to be like everyone else thing, of course, like that a lot of teenagers do. So he's terrified of being, a phony, like everyone, like being the same as everyone else. So he's like, has these grand ideas like, okay, well, now is the time I have to do this, because inevitably I will get old and I will have to do what everyone else does. Like he has this thought that like, I am going to have to fit in. So he's like, now is the time for me to do what I need to do and what I want to do. Like when he's talking to Sally and he's like, we should just go run away together. And she's like, we can't, like, we have stuff to do. And he's like, if we don't do it now, we'll never do it. That kind of thing. Yeah. He's like,
he knows he has to.
Yeah. He's like, it feels very immediate to him. Like everything is happening right now. And I think it's because everything has kind of been, it's like, okay, now he's at this school. Now he's at this school. He is kind of having this thing of like, he doesn't want to be told how his whole life is going to go right now.
Yeah.
He wants some control over his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he wants to prolong his childhood. He's like, I feel like I'm growing up too fast. I don't want to be like this now. I want to be, carouseling with my sister. Like I want to be with my little brother while we're like, he has this like whole thing of like, remember how he keeps remembering like how he didn't let Allie come with him one time because he's like, no, it's not for kids. And so every time he thinks about it, he's like, I wish that I could go back and be like, please come with me, like do everything with me now. Because he's like stuck. And I think that that's valid based on the trauma that he went through. So
that part literally made me cry. I was just like,
sad.
It's so intense.
Yeah. I want to say again, I don't think any of his feelings or reactions were invalid at all. They drove me crazy, but he fully had reason to feel and act the way that he did. Do I feel that he could have done better with maybe... I mean, I don't know that he could have, for where he was at, done better. No, it's so hard to watch someone make so many choices that make their own hard situation even harder. It's just so hard to watch. Like,
it is.
It's just painful.
No, it wasn't easy, but I felt like I could relate to it.
Yeah. And that's the difference.
I think we kind of all agree, actually. Perhaps we just all
I think so too.
Approaching it from different
except that I would never have ever been attracted to Holden Caulfield. Ever. I don't understand that. Because I am looking at it from the outside, as I did with my friends who came to me to talk to me about all of this kind of stuff that Holden was going through. And it was all valid then when they said it, and I cared about them and I listened to them and I told them what I could tell them and like what I thought, and they appreciated it even if they didn't listen, and like those were real friendships. And but I didn't go through that the way that they went through it, and I didn't go through it anything the way that Holden did. I didn't have a normal like teenage experience in any way. So I can't relate like from a personal level. I can only say from an outsider, like if you were like my little brother or if you were, you know, one of my friends, it would just be so painful to watch you going through this. But I cannot on a personal level relate to him at all.
And it was
At all.
painful. As an adult reading it back, it was so much more painful to read it this time.
Oh,
Because I do see him, I'm in the place in my life where I'm a mom now. Like I have a professional job. I'm out of my Holden Caulfield phase.
Yeah.
I was
And
wondering
like,
about that.
It hurts. Like it does hurt to read, and it hurts to see this character that you can like empathize with, like hurting themselves. But at the same time, I'm like, unfortunately, like I know a lot of kids go through that, and especially with mom working in youth ministry before, like we had a lot of kids that I'm sure their internal dialogue probably was exactly like Holden's.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt to see them struggle too. But I felt like I appreciated it so much because I felt like it was so realistic.
No, it was. My problems with this book are not about the way it was written at all.
It's just Holden's stupidity.
I think we just all, based on our own personalities and where we are, we all feel differently about him. But I think we all understand like what JD was doing with him as a character, right?
It's different sides of the same coin.
Yeah. And no, it really is. It's probably, I'm guessing like this feeling of like everyone like hates or loves Holden probably comes back to like the differences in the teenage experience. Like if you didn't go through kind of like the normal teenage development experience, then you might be more like me and just feel very impatient and frustrated by Holden. If you had some of that normal teenage experience, maybe you can relate more to him. So you have like more sense that you have more patience for him because you can kind of relate to when you felt like that. So I kind of wonder if maybe that's what it all comes back to for why everyone has such big feelings about this book.
Yeah, I do remember in my AP Lit class, we had like all of like, because it was like the only AP class, our school was so tiny. We had like the eventual valedictorian and like all of like the top students, and they were the ones that hated it, like absolutely hated it, because they're like, this makes no sense. And they were saying the exact same stuff that you're saying, Ash.
Because Holden's like, not a logical person, and
I didn't go through like a big rebellious teenage phase or anything, so I don't know why I love him so much. I think I literally just want to protect him. I think that's what it is.
It's you have a bleeding heart. You always do for the sweet character.
You're very empathetic. And I love that about you.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm just trying to figure it out. This has been a great convo. Can I just say I like love this right now?
It really has been. There's plenty to say.
Are we doing like literature analyzing? Are we actually like talking about like
we are kind of doing like an analysis? It is. I will say my big problem with this book that made me I probably won't pick it up to read again anytime soon. I'm sure I'll read it again at some point. But it was the lack of plot. Which is not it's totally a personal preference. It was on purpose, and it's the slice of life thing, like the fallen on the ground slice of life with like hair and lint in it. That's what this one was, which is valid but disgusting, and I didn't enjoy it at all because it's not my thing. So I don't know that it's really fair for me to like say as a judgment on the book I don't like the lack of plot, because that's what it was intended to be. But it's definitely not my style.
Yeah, I mean, you can just say you don't like that.
Yeah, I don't personally like that, which is not a judgment on the book, but I don't personally enjoy no plot. That was difficult. I felt like the book ended and I was like, seriously? Like nothing happened.
I think that's better for me because it's not like it was a series. Like I really love like trilogies. I just finished like the Kira Cass, like the selection series.
Yeah, baby.
I know, I finally read it. And but I feel like if this had more plot, then I would be like, well, what happens in the next book? And I'd like be killing myself over it. But I think because it doesn't, just being a standalone book, I feel like it gives me enough closure that I'm like, okay, this is fine. I can just pick it up again next time I want to read it.
Opposite. I felt zero closure. It was like
really
no closure at all. It was so frustrating.
I felt like someone had just given us a slice of their life for a day, and and cool, and that was all we get. That's all we need.
Yeah, that's like all he's gonna tell us. And I'm like, okay, I wish you nothing but the best. Like that's all that I'm supposed to be here for. I don't know. I agree. I like that part of it.
I think it allows you to emotionally separate yourself because Ash, like especially where you were with your like real life friends, is you had it was an ongoing conversation with them. It wasn't just one conversation.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel any
Ooh.
responsibility for his well-being.
I feel
after
full
this
responsibility for Holden Caulfield, which is probably why he stressed me out. So I feel fully responsible for Holden Caulfield for his success. So the fact that the book ended and we saw no indication that he was even doing any better, I was like having such anxiety when the book ended. I was like, well, what happens to him?
He did say he saw a psychoanalyst though.
Yeah,
Thank
he's like
God.
telling
The last
it
page.
from yeah.
So there is slight improvement.
I hope so. I
And
felt
he
full
got sick, probably from
responsibility for him.
smoking 4 packs and not eating.
I remember, yes, he did. He got very sick towards the end of the book, and I was also stressed. I felt full, like I did for my friends then. I felt
was
full
so
responsibility for his well-being, and it's so much pressure, you guys. It's so stressful.
No, it is.
The part when he's like walking across the street and kept being like, I feel like I'm going to die. Like he just had this inevitable doom hanging over him. And he was like talking to like his dead brother, like let me live until I cross the street.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind. I straight up was like, is this boy about to die? I had no idea how this book ended. I was so stressed.
I couldn't remember how it ended. Like I was too.
I was so worried. I had never read this.
My
heart was bad because at the same time I was like, if he died, that'd be even more closure.
I would have been
I was like,
what the actual F did I just read? Like I would have been so unbelievably furious.
I think also because his mental health was so crazy. I was thinking about it and I was like, does he, unalive himself at the end? Like I couldn't remember because he mentioned it in the book a few times.
Yeah, I was really nervous. I was so nervous.
Like, I don't remember him being necessarily like a lost cause, but nobody's a lost cause.
Like literally my heart is beating so fast thinking about Holden Caulfield and like, oh my God, I hope he's okay. Because of the way the book ended where he just left off and I'm like, gee, I hope he doesn't unalive himself. Gee, I hope things get better from here. Like so stressful. This is I just found him so stressful. My heart is pounding for Holden Caulfield. I'm so
I think that also shows the difference in personalities is I don't feel I've had to separate myself from feeling responsibility for other people's actions or their emotions past what they share with
problem with that.
If I only get a snippet of their life and get to speak into their life and that's the only time I can have peace with that. And if something terrible happens to them, that's not my responsibility.
Yeah, that's a healthy perspective.
That's
just
a
do
very
what you
healthy
can.
Perspective. I really wish I could embrace that. If somebody walks in the door and they're upset, I'm like, it's my fault. What did I do? How can I fix it?
I know.
And I seem to break. Yeah, it's a pretty normal response, but how on earth do you break that habit? I've tried so hard. I've talked to therapists about it. I don't know how to like rewire that in my brain.
I think emotionally detaching myself from our father worked pretty well.
Well, I mean, I nailed that one. I've succeeded once in like a million.
It's an ongoing thing. Sometimes I'm better than other times. I think I'm in a good space right now.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. I got back on my antidepressants, so that's also probably helping.
All right.
Hopefully, so did Holden Caulfield. I'm really hoping.
I know. I really hope they gave him more than just Coke. Maybe something that's not a stimulant.
Wait. While we're talking about like being responsible for other people, no, but I found that because I was always, why is it called Catcher in the Rye? But then when he explains it, I was like, okay, great. My heart's breaking even more because he's basically like, kind of, it was almost like he's self-aware, like I don't want other kids to be like this or be like
that was very sweet. The analogy.
He has to catch them before they run off a cliff.
Yes, exactly. It was like stressing me out and it made me cry a little bit because
I thought it was very sweet.
That's why I think he has a really good heart. He's just in a really messed up place.
He's in a very tough place and I hope things get better, but like the sad reality is sometimes things don't. And so that's why the way this left off just killed me, like destroyed me, because I was like, I have absolutely no indication that this is going to get better or worse, but based on what we know about him so far, I'm extremely concerned. And he's a sweet kid. He's not a bad kid. He's not a bad person or a bad character. He's a sweet kid who's going through so much and is not making his own life easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I think I feel more hopeful because I feel like a lot of his internal dialogue matched a lot of what I went through for a season of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm here. I'm on the other side. So I have hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that the ending, you could take it either way. I don't know. I'm choosing to believe it's going to be okay, but I also could see the other way around.
I think it depends on if you're like an optimist or a pessimist.
This is where take it. Once again, I'm so very in the middle because my thought was, I don't think he unalives himself. I think he lives on, and I think good things happen and bad things happen. But I do think that this, like, the way that I see his life going is the balance of like really hard things to really happy things. There's a lot more hard things he goes through because of the way he lives his life.
Absolutely.
And probably. That's so painful. That's so painful. I don't want him to have a bad life. I don't want him to have like a really like just tumultuous experience of human life, but I feel like he is going to. And I mean, that's better than getting worse or unaliving himself. My God, because at least he still gets happy stuff that happens sometimes. But just to like think that realistically he goes on and his life, it maybe gets a little better, but it's still very, very hard. That is so painful.
That if life just got significantly better for him constantly, I think he would feel like that was boring. I feel like he thrives on the highs and the lows of life.
Yeah, I can't relate.
Like, I do have to say, like, the whole, like, the amount of times that he mentioned really serious, like, mental health, like, thoughts and didn't take any action on it. It was just a passing thought. And how he still went out and took pleasure in things, even things that he doesn't enjoy. You know, he would. I think some people live like that. I'm not saying it's healthy or that they should. I don't think that he's a mentally healthy. I think he needs help. I'm not saying.
No, that's the thing. And it's hard to picture him getting enough help to where he breaks out of that cycle. I hope that he does, but I didn't feel that way when the book ended.
I have to wonder if J.D. Salinger is anything like Holden, because I feel like you look at his life and you'd be like,
well, you always wonder.
Similar.
You always wonder when it's like an author writes like from like a first person perspective of a character, because there's always a lot of you as a writer. Like when you write a main character, even if it's someone that you tried to write to make them completely unlike you, there's still so much of you in them.
Every book of yours that I've read, Ash, I see so much of you in the main characters, and I know you don't do it on purpose.
I don't, but I am aware that I don't do it on purpose. I am very aware of it because it's my main character syndrome, and I write in first person, and writing is.
And you also, when you write a book, I feel like you give a little piece of yourself out too. Like, it's 100%. Not bad. I think it makes like this character a lot more real.
Yeah. And that's I just think that that's writing. Like, I don't think it's just me. I think that that's just what writing is. And that's why it's curious when you get a character this unique to question, gee, I wonder what parts of Holden were just J.D. Salinger.
Totally.
Because some of them
I also thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both New Yorkers.
They both went to multiple schools, apparently.
They mentioned that Holden's next stop was going to be military school. So
they did.
Went to military school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? That makes me even more hopeful knowing that he lived until he was 91. I'm like, Holden's still kicking. If J.D. Salinger was kicking till 91, I bet Holden could too. I don't know how pleasant his life was, but
I just hope his life wasn't really hard forever. Like I just don't want his life to suck.
Everybody's life is hard for seasons.
Yeah, but some people make their lives harder than they need to be on a more consistent basis.
I do think he is one of those people. I don't know that he'll ever fully grow out of, but I think that he will probably get better.
I think the seasons,
the emotional, empathetic burnout that I'm feeling just thinking about it is like physically painful.
He's not your responsibility, Ash.
Yeah, he's not Maddie, real.
If he
Ash
was my friend, he would have been. It would have been for the rest of my life.
No, they weren't your responsibility either. Get it out of your head. Anything that they thought or they did, that was not your responsibility. Then it's not your responsibility now. And shame on them for making you feel that way.
If I was friends with Holden Caulfield and his life just went on, I would feel for the rest of my life that his state of being was on me. Like, that's why I'm so stressed not to know how his life went. Like, there would have been no point in time, even if we drifted apart, where I would have like detached emotionally from his success as a genuinely happy person.
Ash, I mean this in the nicest way possible, but please don't ever work for a 911 response.
Oh yeah, never do that.
Never.
Worst job ever for you.
Would not.
It is
maybe
so
not
amazing.
my calling. Which is
so
funny,
important,
because I am very, very good at emergency response. I'm excellent in an emergency. I'm the one you want with you in an emergency. But emotionally, if we have a moment of emotional connection, I won't let it go ever, forever. I will always care emotion. If all of my enemies out there, if you think you're my enemy, just know, even if we don't talk now, if we've ever had an emotional moment, I care deeply about you and I will be invested in your success for the rest of my life. I can't turn it off.
That's
so
sweet, Ash.
Is it? I can't turn it off. So I'm not necessarily trying to be sweet or any otherwise. That's how I am. And
you're like,
anyways.
dang it.
Yeah, stop
Screw y'all.
I just don't see the point in holding grudges. I purposely hold grudges if I want to, but otherwise it's just too much effort.
I don't really hold grudges. Some people fall away because I think
or
that,
positive emotions. Either way, it can be really
a positive grudge.
LOL. I love you. I have a positive grudge against you.
I have a positive grudge against you.
I don't know. Like old friends and stuff, like I don't want to see them fail, but I also don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about like
no, I don't think like constantly about all of the friends that I've had. My memory frankly is not good enough, but like if something comes up or something reminds me of them or I see something about their life and it's not a good thing, I like my heart shatters into a million pieces. And if I feel all the weight as if we had been close this whole time and I could have done something to stop it and didn't.
I actually had one of those moments about one of your close friends, Ash, that was like that you're one of your old friends from like high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I normally don't have those. I normally emotionally distance myself, probably to an unhealthy level. I think that's probably why I'm so fine.
Mine's completely unconscious. So like I don't build that bond on purpose. The way that I talk also, you can tell, like I'm not someone who's like out here like trying to build bridges with people. That's not really my intent ever. But it happens.
Well, do we want to do our stats?
Yeah, let's do our stats. This book was so freaking draining, you guys.
No, you're gonna need to like go to bed immediately after this.
Yeah, I'm like so emotionally I've talked more about my feelings in the last half hour than I have in probably the last year, and I don't enjoy it. Okay, I'm not enjoying this.
That's how you know this was a good book, because it had us talking like this for literally an hour.
I know, and I'm exhausted now. I'm exhausted, and it's all Holden's fault. I'm so tired.
Dang it,
sometimes
Holden.
It's important.
My heart is tired. I don't like this.
This is literature, you guys. Gets you thinking. Gets the old cogs whirring.
Yeah. I feel like I heard something. Are they not allowing Catcher in the Rye in schools anymore?
I think it's always been kind of a banned book because they talk about sex and stuff, and I'm like, okay, bye.
That's so weird.
I hate banning any books. So
I feel like I remember talking to some younger kids from my high school, and they didn't have to read it in their AP Lit class, and so I was like wondering if I was like maybe the last person.
Oh yeah, I never read it either, but I don't think it was. I know that my teachers would have if they had just picked it. I don't think it was a.
It's not like federally banned. I don't know if there are any books that are like federally banned in public school.
I don't think
pretty
that's legal actually. Like
yeah.
But I know that a lot of like people have banned it before.
There's actually had like policies about it.
Yeah, and it changes.
There's a joke in Footloose the musical, which I know because I was in it, where they like ran the main characters like reading Catcher in the Rye, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a nasty, sinful book or whatever," and then they're like, "You should read Huckleberry, or you should read Tom Sawyer."
Oh my god, that's such a
like,
racist book.
Okay, I know. It's just like,
also, can I say that like besides goddamn, they didn't say really like there was no like actual like swear words. They were all just like older swear words like that you could say nowadays and nobody.
No, when I say the profanity was in it and constant, it's not that it was bad. It was just that it was so frequent. I was like, do you not have any other adjectives like at all? Which is how I thought it was so curse a lot.
I thought that the old curse words were hilarious. I loved them.
I
went to like look them up.
Son of a bitch, and it was literally all one word, son of a bitch, all the time.
It was son of a bitch and goddamn were his favorites. Which
I was like, is there no? I was like, if you're gonna curse this much, could you mix it up? I married a man who curses constantly, but it's always new. It's something I haven't heard before.
See, this is giving Outsiders to me, like some of the stuff that Holden was doing, because it's like old timey boy who's like, I'm gonna cuss a lot because I'm 16.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny that he was so mad that people were writing the F word on the wall in school, and I'm like, oh, so you have morals now.
Oh no. he was yeah, wow, that was funny. God. I love some of the phrases he does. Like he would say the same 5 things over and over and over, like that just about killed me. Like that he said that so many times.
I loved it how he described like when a girl looks really good, he was like, it just knocked me out. And I'm like, I want my husband to say like, you just knocked me out. Like you're so beautiful.
But do you want him to talk about your pretty little ass as much as he did? I was like, stop calling her ass. Like, stop saying pretty little ass so much. Like
I'd be fine with that.
I think that generally Holden came out of this with a good rating on women, on how he respects women. Compared to like how bad he could have been.
Oh my god!
Especially like look at so that far day and age. Like oh my goodness.
I know.
No, that's not a critique on. He had a pretty dang comparatively healthy view of women. Comparatively, because objectively, no, he's still pretty far behind. But compared to then, yes, he was doing very well.
Also, it made me really sad that it was like a normal thing that girls would say, "No, don't stop." And that guys would continue. Can we just mention that? He mentioned it and he's like, I would stop because it just didn't feel right. And I'm like,
oh my god.
Holden's talking about consent before like they even like talked about consent.
Yep. I was so upset by that. Yeah, I was like, okay, consent king, Holden Caulfield, but everyone else, jail. You're all going to jail.
100%. Yeah.
And he was like, what's his stupid roommate's name? He was like, yeah, I know he's the son of a bitch when he goes on dates or whatever. And I was like, oh my god.
I was so stressed out.
Not good. Imagine I would hate my life too if I went to that boys' academy. You know, all they do is talk horribly about women.
Literally. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yep. Yeah.
Ugh, what a mess.
Anyways, what would we do? What would we say for favorite and least favorite parts of this book?
Oh god. Maddie, you go first.
Yeah.
My favorite part was when he was talking with the nuns about Romeo and Juliet. It's a super weird thing, but mostly because he was like shitting on Romeo and Juliet. And it was like, why did they kill Mercutio?
Yeah,
I love that. Thank you.
I love that he loves Mercutio.
I was like, I think Romeo and Juliet are so boring. They're so lame. I really
just think they're stupid. But in the same way, I felt like Holden Caulfield was self-destructive.
See,
but he was aware of it. That's the thing, is he had this self-awareness.
That's
funny that he was kind of like, yeah, they're dumb, but I also a teenager who is self-destructive is not like, I mean, he was kind of aware, but he wasn't like making the connection between them.
He was like, well, at least Mercutio wasn't boring.
Yeah. He was correct.
Like, Mercutio's not a phony, that's for sure. I mean,
no,
he wasn't.
Not at all.
Mercutio is the king for now and forever. So I was like, I appreciate your opinion.
I liked that part too.
Is a little ironic.
And I loved how like he like that was his favorite interaction that he had when he was thinking about things he genuinely liked. It was the interaction with the nuns.
That was sweet.
Like, that is so sweet and so pure. And he gave them money when they weren't asking for it, and he like genuinely cared about what they were.
Stop. I'm gonna cry.
Like I feel like that showed like one of the best parts of his personality.
Yeah, totally.
It showed a lot of bad parts of him in this book, but that was a really good part.
Yeah, for sure. You know, part I thought was so funny kind of in that part was when he was talking about how he thought all the disciples were stupid and he hated them, but he liked Jesus a lot. But I guess I'm probably an atheist because I hate everybody else. That's cracking up.
And I'm like, well, thank God that Christianity is about Christ and not the disciples.
Well, there's a reason. Yeah.
He was so
like,
funny.
I felt like they didn't really do all that much to help Jesus out when he was here. And I'm like, you were correct.
I'm like, yeah.
He was like, I mean,
they technically didn't do anything without him.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, I don't blame Jesus or anything. It's not like he had time to really vet them. Like he just kind of picked random guys, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing against Jesus.
And I was like, he sort of does that. Like the whole time I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
He's very for such a person who behaves so irrationally, he thinks so rationally about some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
it's just you never know which ones he's going to be rational about.
Yeah. Or like what he's going to decide he thinks about somebody. Like I could never figure out if he was going to like or hate somebody really, because he would just go back and forth. Like even at the beginning, he's like, yeah, Ackley is such a, like, I don't like Ackley at all. And then as soon as his roommate's being mean, he's like, actually Ackley's a pretty great guy.
Yeah.
Like he just
it's the unreliable narrator thing too. So every time he'd like introduce us to a character and be like, this character's a jerk or this character's whatever, I'm like, are they? I don't know if I believe you.
Yeah, I do feel like he was able to see it in the same ways that we saw the best and the worst of him. I feel like he was able to see the best and the worst of people.
Yes, I was thinking that too, because he kind of would be like, yeah, they're kind of stupid, but then he'd be like, but they had the best way about them in doing this. Like he would just kind of like fully, I think that he really tried to see people, but he wasn't always so good at interacting with them. But he was like really open to like, maybe they're good in this way and bad in this way. Most people, except for like random people he met like one time, but you know, he was trying, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Is that your favorite part, or I mean, I don't have a favorite part.
Oh, me? Yeah, my favorite part was at the end with the carousel when he was happy and it was raining.
That was good. Actually, my favorite part was when he was talking to Phoebe. And whenever he talks about Phoebe and talks about how smart she is and stuff. It's one of the few times that you get to see him fully, without reservation, talk about something that he likes and even loves, and there's like no negative anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, so refreshing to know there's something in your life that makes you happy.
I know.
And the thing is like if you read through the book, you can think of the things that he mentioned that he liked at the time, but being in such a state of desperation all the time, like it's hard. Like when you're having a rough time, it's a lot harder to think of the things you like as opposed to the things you dislike.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's definitely true. Least favorite parts?
The prostitute.
Oh god, that was rough.
That part was so stressful.
It was extremely
when they came back in. Oh my god.
The thing is I couldn't remember how that part went, but I was like, there's no way he sleeps with the prostitute. No way.
I knew he wasn't gonna. I was like, this is it was so funny though that he was like, I mean, I kind of already said I'd do it, so I guess we're doing this now. But I was like, Holden, you don't have to say yes to that. You could be like, no thanks. But instead
he was like, I guess so.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought it was so funny how I'm like, this scrawny ass little dude like still just says, no, you can't have $5, which I know granted was a lot more money back then.
Yeah, still I'm like, you're about to get your ass beat, dude.
I would have just given him the $5. I just like every other thing with Holden. I'm like, sweetheart, I understand why you feel the way you feel, but there is an easier way.
Yeah.
And he was
he hated himself. So who's to say that at least he's choosing his pain?
Oh my god. This is
he knew what was gonna happen. He's not stupid.
He's choosing to increase his pain. He's already in pain from decisions.
Yeah. We covered that it doesn't make sense to you.
How much pain do you have to stack on? Like, I don't. He was already having such a rough time. That was probably my least favorite part too, specifically when he got like kind of beat up by the pimp. I was like, this was unnecessary. Like, you're literally beating this guy when he's already down. It's so unnecessary.
He was like fully crying too. Oh, I hated that.
Every time he actually cried in the book, which was only like 3 times. That was hard.
That was tough. He was like, I think I just started crying. I was like, oh my god. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. He kept saying stuff like that.
I swear to God, I'm not kidding. You have to do it with a New York accent too.
Kidding.
What about favorite and least favorite characters? I will say Phoebe's my favorite character right up front. I loved her.
Holden's my favorite character. I didn't like Stodletter, the whatever his name was.
Yeah, that roommate.
I was not sure. Can I bring up my least favorite part? I think was the part where he was at his teacher's house and then he thought he was going to molest him and then he left.
Yeah,
that was when I changed my mind. Read it, that was my least favorite part.
When I first read it, I was like so upset. I was like, okay, was he literally about to molest him?
Yeah.
And then Spark Notes, because I just wanted to get
like
another
confirmation.
Yeah, I needed another read on it.
Yeah.
Because Holden himself was like, oh, I don't know, was that what I thought it was, kind of thing later.
Yeah.
And so then Spark Notes was like, it might not have been that, and Holden just has intimacy issues. And I was like, true, but also who knows? So I'm not sure. And
I'd
I'm
have been real
stressed
creeped
out
out
by
so
it, and I hated
yeah,
it, and
I hated that
that
too.
part made me sad, really, really
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
I hated that. Also, he was like, "Yeah, people are always trying to molest me," and I was like, "I am literally gonna
he
cry
just
and freak out."
he literally just dropped that in there, and I was like, oh my god, Holden, what
I
else have you
know.
not told us? Oh my
I
god.
don't know. Yeah, I hate that. That part was my
Ugh.
least favorite part.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I changed mine. I
I
agree.
don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Least
So,
favorite character, I don't know. Maybe the roommate, the gross one who treats women horribly but thinks
yeah,
he's
he
hot
was the
shit.
worst. He
Like
was
he
like,
really
"Hey,
is the worst.
write my essay for me." And I was like, "Screw you, dude."
Yeah, and he's like, "What's consent? I don't care."
Yeah, I hated that.
Yeah,
And then he didn't even
disgusting.
remember her name and all of that. And Holton was
He
like,
really was just a garbage person.
he was the worst. And Holton wrote him the like essay about his dead brother's baseball glove. And it was, I'm sure, a very good essay because he's not
Yeah.
failing English. And his stupid roommate was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Screw you, dude. Beggars
Yeah,
can't be
seriously.
choosers." Anyway,
100%. Yeah.
he did that.
Maddie?
I'd say probably the same as Holden was my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, the roommate. I'd say that the creepy teacher, I do think that there was something sketchy going on there, my personal opinion.
Eek.
It was
That's just
weird.
like the thing is thinking of his relationship is like that's absolutely grooming.
Eek.
Like nowadays, that's what we would see. So
Yeah.
I think that if there's even a question,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's
So
definitely fair.
I'd say he's probably I dislike him more than I dislike the roommate who was a real jackass, but
Who is a rapist
I
also.
got worse vibes from the teacher. And I also think that Holden's a very discerning person.
I think
He
so.
did kind of, I don't know. I think he was really worried about like gay people though. Like, I don't know. I think he has a weird idea. I mean, sure, it's, mostly because of the time period.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like that, but not everyone, but it was common. But I think that he kind of might have been extra like, "Oh God, like what is this?" But also I don't want to invalidate Holden's experience. So I also am like, this sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I hated all of that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also like important to say that like being gay and being a molester are not synonymous.
Oh yeah, that's not what I'm saying at all. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know that's not what you're saying. I know that's not what you're saying.
Like that.
I'm just saying. I think in Holden's head, I think that he maybe thought that they were synonymous because it was so unknown at that time.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted. I don't think you were saying that at all.
No,
You're clarifying that you think that's what Holden thinks.
I think that's what Holden thinks.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
I think he might have thought, "Oh, yeah, like I don't know." Anyway,
yeah, because he didn't mention like necessarily like, oh, he's a molester. He made the negative part be like, oh, he's gay, which like that's not the bad part about it.
Yeah.
The worst part about the situation.
You're like, sweetie. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway.
What about favorite quotes?
Oh. I really liked this one. When he said, "What really knocks me out is a book that when you're all done reading it, you wish the author that wrote it was a terrific friend of yours and you could call him up on the phone whenever you felt like it. That doesn't happen much though."
It really knocks me out.
I know, I love that. What really knocks me out is
we should bring that back. That's good.
He's so cute. Yeah, I was like, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. Mine was long, but I'll read like part of it. It was when he was in the museum, or when he was talking about the museum, when he was saying you could go there 100,000 times and the Eskimo would still be just finished catching those 2 fish. The birds would still be on their way south. The deers would still be drinking out of that water hole with their pretty little antlers and the pretty skinny legs. And this is like the longest run-on sentence. Oh my gosh. And that squaw with the naked bosom would still be weaving that same blanket. Nobody would be different. The only thing that would be different would be you. And I'm like, that is so like, that gives me the nostalgic feeling of like every time that you're in a place you haven't been in forever, it's like it hasn't changed, but you have. And so everything looks different. Like you're looking at it from the eyes of an adult. Yeah. So I have to wonder, like, when he goes back to that museum in a later stage in his life, it's going to look entirely different to him then, even than it did.
I hope so.
Him as a teenager and then him as a child.
Yeah. That's
So,
very, you guys both picked like really like poignant quotes. Mine is a little spicier. Because not like in like a sexy way spicy, but I mean like spicy like the way the vet asked me once if my cat was spicy, like if she was gonna scratch her. I thought was funny. She didn't, by the way. Lily was on her best behavior that trip. So but anyways, so this is, I guess this is one of the quotes that I really related to, which in a book where I didn't relate to all that much was nice that there was one. And I also thought it was very funny. So it says, I am always saying glad to have met you to somebody I'm not at all glad I met. If you want to stay alive, you have to say that stuff though. That's so true.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
God.
was funny.
That's so funny. Oh, I heard that. I think your
My
kitty
cat
cats are
dropped
getting in
something.
trouble. Mhm.
Juicy.
They're
I'm
being
sure it was
spicy.
Taffy, actually. They're being spicy out there.
They're being spicy.
Yeah, I'd mock them for not having opposable thumbs. I'd be like, dumb cats.
Idiots. Losers. What phonies.
Who's got two thumbs and still knocks everything over?
This guy.
Oh, God. Let's see. What else do we do? Oh, pinkies up. How many pinkies up do we want to rate this book?
I'm going to do 5. 5 or 2 pinkies up.
So 5. It's 5.
5 fingers.
2
5 stars, 2 pinkies.
Up.
5 pinkies.
Yeah, for me, 5 pinkies up.
Yes. Sorry. Caleb had to throw the cat in here.
Oh, hi, Caleb.
But you can just throw her in. It's fine. I'm almost done. Caleb forgot I was recording. She doesn't want to come in because the dog's laying on her bed now, right? Inside the door. Don't drop her on the dog. Thank you. Oh my God. All right. Sorry. So you were saying 2 pinkies way up, aka 5 pinkies up. We have a 1 to 5 pinkies up rating.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I was like, wait.
No, it doesn't make sense.
We're not here for logic.
We're not. But
Because all of us, Kendall and I will raise 2 pinkies and you raise 1.
Kendall, did you give it 5 pinkies up?
Yes.
Oh, you also give it 5 pinkies up?
Absolutely. I loved it. I would read it again for sure.
Here's the thing. I was thinking about my rating earlier, and I would have said 3 pinkies up was what I was going to give it. But now I'm like, my heart is still beating from how emotionally aroused I got, like, by this freaking character driving me crazy because I'm so stressed out for him. And I understand that to evoke that response, it probably deserves more than a 3 pinky up. And I said that I would probably read it again, which I really only apply that to books that get at least 4 pinkies up. So I will give it 4 pinkies up. But I was gonna give it a 3 for my enjoyment of it. My enjoyment level was like 3 pinkies up, but the book really earned at least a 4 pinkies up. So
there you go.
Generous. I do feel like Holden Caulfield would be really impressed with the intellectual conversations we've had about this. He's
Holden
so badly
Caulfield
wanted.
would be the bane of my existence.
But I think he would like to talk about books with us for sure.
Yeah, he'd like to talk about how awful he is.
He would, and then he would get home and I'd have to text him, hey, you seemed a little down today. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? And then that would have been my life. As long as he and I were close friends, that would have been every single day.
You know what he would do? He'd be like, man, people are always texting you, asking you if you're doing all right. What phonies? They don't really mean it. That's
exactly. And I'd have been like, oh,
you'd be a phony.
He'd think you're a phony. He'd think we're all phonies, probably. Unfortunately.
Probably. Oh my God, we're on like an entertainment like media thing. We'd be so funny. Yeah.
I was like, I like the movies way too much, and I'm way too much of a normie for Holden Caulfield to actually respect me, but it's fine. I'll still protect him.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, he stresses me out. Oh my God, my chest is tight. Thanks, guys. This book gave me anxiety.
Thanks, J.D. Salinger.
Hey, you have no responsibility for what happens to Holden from here on out, and you have no responsibility for what happens to those friends from here on out.
You know what? You're only right about the first part because Holden Caulfield's not a real person. So
the book was published, like 60 something years ago?
Yeah.
Oh my God, 70.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it published?
I don't remember the publish.
I think 51. 51, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
that's crazy.
70. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for recommending it, Maddie.
Yes, and thank you
really
for
enjoyed it.
us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're such a good podcast guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys got to see
Sorry
some
that I have
sibling
such strong
fighting.
opinions.
No,
Hopefully I
that's
didn't piss anybody off, but if you don't like my opinions, you can suck
you
it.
did
I don't really
great.
care.
All we do here is scream our opinions into the microphone. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Yeah,
really just
that's
right
all
on
it
brand
is.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good. It's nice to actually be a part of the conversation because I listen to almost every podcast that's released. And I always just sit in the car listening to it and I want to add something or correct Ash.
Of course she does.
And I can't. So it's nice to actually be able to do that this time.
Yeah, now we're all
Yeah.
here. Love
Nice
it.
to be able to correct me with your made up memories.
I disagree.
Whatever. We're back where we started.
We're not
where we
gonna agree on this.
started.
Agree to disagree.
There you go.
All right.
I'm not responsible for you.
LOL, I'm responsible for you. I'm kidding. I know that. I know that it's not true. I wish I could feel that it wasn't true, but I know in my head that it's not. But legitimately, thank you. This has been super fun. I'm glad that you joined. I was really, really excited for this. So I'm like super psyched. Yeah.
I've had the longest day that I've had in a really long time, but I was just like, but I have to be there for the podcast. I was like, I cannot put it off. I cannot cancel it. This is like, it was the bright part of my day. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
we could be a bright spot. If only Holden Caulfield had more of those. Oh, he's gonna haunt my dreams tonight. Anyways, is there anything else that anyone wants to say to the listeners?
I think I'm good.
All right, sweet. If you guys enjoyed this episode, if you guys wouldn't mind going below and giving us a 5-star review, that would be amazing. There's no pinkies down there, just stars. It makes way too much sense for us, but just go with it anyways, you guys. If you guys want Maddie back, send us a message. You can always reach out to us on social media. We're That Pretentious Book Club. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. Or you can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. You can also go to storysirenstudio.com and see all of the cool merch that Maddie herself has designed for us. And maybe we'll get some more stuff up there soon. So,
and if you have any merch ideas, send them in too. And I'm happy. I'm always looking for ideas. So
yeah, exactly. So if we haven't said that in a while, and I don't think we have, you guys can always send in your ideas and your requests for what you want. I actually do think that we have a new piece of merch that I'm going to release. I'm pretty sure it's a wine tumbler that has our logo on it. I need to double check which one I saved, but that one is ready to release. So I will make that active for you guys in case you want it. And yeah, if there's anything that you guys want, you guys can let us know and we will reply to you. We will also, if you have strong feelings about this book, good or bad, we would love to chat with you about it. You can always message us or email us. And if you guys have any book recs, you can always send those our way as well. We love to chat with you guys about books. It's one of the most fun things that we do every week. So reach out. Don't forget to subscribe if you are on Apple Podcasts, and tell people about the podcast, tell your reader friends so you can all argue together. I think that that's everything we've got for you guys, though. So until next week, keep your teacups full,
your pinkies high,
and your book club
pretentious.
Woo!
Heck yeah.